Good morning, and thank you for joining the poll call, sponsored by CenturyLink. My name is Dylan Keith, Policy Analyst at the Vegas Chamber. Before we get started, I'd like to go over some of the features of this call. If you're using the desktop or mobile Zoom applications, you may type a question at any time using the question pane at the bottom of the screen. We'll answer as many questions as possible at the end of the presentation. Likewise, you are highly recommended to ask questions live. Use the hand raise button at the bottom of your screen. And as we open up for questions, we will call your name and unmute your line. Please ensure you are unmuted on your end, and please keep questions brief so we can get to as many as possible. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Vegas Chamber President and CEO, Mary Beth Seawald.
Dylan, thank you so much, and good morning, everybody. First, I also, as Dylan said, want to thank CenturyLink for sponsoring the poll call today. We are extremely grateful for their support, and we couldn't do these things without them. So want to say a big thank you to them. As we start our legislative session, there are a lot of proposals that, if passed, would definitely be harmful to our employers and small businesses. And that's why your engagement as a chamber member is absolutely paramount to our success in Carson City, especially during these very challenging times. So I really want to encourage everybody to sign up for the Chamber's Chamber Advocate program. Because becoming a chamber advocate is one of the most helpful things that you can do, not only to support the Vegas Chamber, but to make real impacts for the entire business community during the upcoming legislative session. So, and as everybody knows, it's no secret that this year the Nevada legislative session is going to be a tough session for businesses, for our entire business community. So there are already several proposals that will make it more challenging to operate and keep people employed. So your role as a chamber advocate is that you will help amplify the chamber's voice by sharing with lawmakers in our community the real impacts that a proposal would have on your business and your employees, because so many times individuals don't necessarily know about the unintended consequences. So that's why your voice is so important. So we hope you will volunteer to become a chamber advocate. And for more information, you can go to vegaschamber.com. Another way to stay informed during this legislative session is to make sure you engage in the chamber communications. We send out a lot of communications. In addition to this monthly Carson City call, there's the biweekly poll call, of course, exclusively for President's Club and Advocacy members. And then also, if you don't already know about this, the Chamber sends out a government affairs email called The Rundown. We send that out every Friday during session, and that always has the latest legislative updates and news. So if you want to stay informed and stay engaged, please go to vegaschamber.com to learn more about all these valuable chamber resources. So once again, we want to thank CenturyLink, and thank you all for being with us today, and thank you for your support and your chamber membership. And now I want to turn it over to Paul Moradkhan, the Senior Vice President of Government Affairs. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Mary Beth, and thank you so much for our members for joining us today. And Mary Beth, thank you for sharing with members how they can get involved with the Chamber this virtual legislative session. And of course, thank you to CenturyLink for your ongoing sponsorship of the poll call. As Mary Beth indicated, Carson City is up and running, and we are now in our fourth day of our legislative session with 116 days left to go. It is a virtual format, but the Chamber is in Carson City, in our Carson City offices, running our legislative program on behalf of our members. So we'll start with a legislative report to share with members what's happening. This Monday did start the session, so we're in our 81st regular session. At this time, it's a virtual access only by the public and lobbyists. So that means the legislative building is closed. So if you want to testify, if you want to contact a legislator or meet with a legislator, it's going to have to be done virtually. The Nevada legislative website is now available for folks to watch hearings either through their legislative channel or through YouTube. And you're also able to participate via audio testimony or video in certain select cases. In tomorrow's rundown, we'll have a link to that information as the hearings start to get scheduled in the next few days and as the speed picks up starting next week, so members can engage on a variety of topics, of course. We do anticipate, like I said, the policy bills will start to increase really next week. And then, of course, budget hearings are occurring right now in Senate Finance and Assembly Ways and Means. We do anticipate there will be a little fewer bills processed this session because of the virtual format, but they will still have a very heavy policy agenda. To Mary Beth's point, bills are already coming out. The chamber's already talking to stakeholders, legislators, leadership about bills that we support or bills we have concerns about, or sometimes we just oppose them because it's just bad business policy. But that's a little bit of a high overview of what's happening with the logistics of the 81st session. On Monday, the chamber did release its legislative mission for the session, and the theme that we have developed is recover, rebuild, reinvent Nevada together. And this is really a evolution of where the chamber has been working on its legislative agendas for the last few decades. We outlined in the piece, and we've shared this with legislators in the governor's office and with leadership about where we are as a business community, as a state. Our members have been impacted with COVID-19, not just from the fiscal side, but mental health, healthcare. Every single perspective, members have been impacted because of COVID-19. So we really lay out a vision of how we can recover and rebuild as employers and employees together. The Chamber of Commerce represents both groups. Our employers employ about 250,000 Nevadans out of a 1.1 million workforce. So we tell the story of how that relationship works, and it has to have both sides working together to build a better state for all Nevadans. We also go into the conversation about the competition. And when we say the competition's out there, we're talking about other states that are competing against Nevada for new businesses to relocate to those states, but also the competition regarding our trade shows, our hotel leisure industry, and conventions. States like Florida and Texas have been very aggressive during the pandemic to recruit those type of conventions and trade shows to their states. And obviously, Nevada needs to remain competitive as we work through this public pandemic health issue. We want them to know Nevada is open for business, and we are working closely with our local state officials to move forward with reopening as the vaccines become more available. And finally, of course, the Chamber's commitment to you, our employers and our members. It's our top priority as an organization led by Mary Beth and her vision to constantly be service leaders to our members. We also are dictated by 3 guiding principles, and that's to preserve our business climate, to what Mary Beth alluded to in her opening remarks. We're going to advocate for policies that foster economic development, job growth, and careers for our members and fellow Nevadans. And finally, of course, the Chamber will continue to promote entrepreneurship and innovation and support small business success. Small business, as we know, will be the linchpin to our economic recovery over the next several years. Regarding our bill draft requests, or what we call the BDRs, as of this morning, there have been 900 BDRs that have been submitted to the Legislative Counsel Bureau, and that's the branch of this legislative body that does all the bill writing and drafting for legislators. So we're about 900 right now. We have 900 Assembly bills that have been released and 98 Senate bills that have been released. So we anticipate by the end of the session, you'll see about 12 to 1,300 BDRs, and you'll see almost 1,000 bills dropped for review and for potential hearings. So we're just getting started. The Chamber itself is tracking almost 600 BDRs and pre-filed bills. So that's everything from collective bargaining, healthcare, employer retaliation, employment law, workers' comp. A lot of this is going to relate back to COVID-19, business liability, protecting those protections we got during the special session with support of the governor. Pay equity, of course, will continue to be a conversation. Non-disclosure agreements, is a bill that we are working on right now with the Attorney General's office to mitigate quite a few of our concerns. That's Assembly Bill 47. If you deal with merger and acquisitions or non-compete bills, I would encourage you to look at that bill. There'll also be conversations and bills regarding to taxes. 2 of the top tax conversations we've already heard about will be property tax. There's a bill from NACO and a bill from the League of Cities on property tax. And there also will be a bill on live entertainment and also a bill on digital goods. And then finally, we will see some bills increasing penalties and fines on businesses. One example is Senate Bill 18, which will increase fines through the PUC, the Public Utility Commission, on telecom, on energy and gas companies. So that'll be something we'll be engaging on behalf of our members. So again, this is a snapshot of what we're starting to see for this legislative session as the bills become available for the chamber for review, of course. And as many of you know, the chamber maintains one of the largest portfolios in Carson City. So very appreciative of the fact that our team is here in Carson. The board of trustees, with the support of our CEO, has been assured that we have the investment to work in the state capitol to protect you, our members, during the legislative session. One thing I want to share with the group is with our members today is something called the Revenue Coalition. The Revenue Coalition is approximately 60 members of progressive groups that like to see more dollars put back into state spending, either for education or offset budget cuts. So this shows you a little of some of the groups that are involved with. Some of the tax topics they are talking about from the Revenue Coalition are mining taxes, the LET, capital gains excise tax, CBD to be included as a cannabis tax, another variant in alcohol tax, digital goods, and then a taxes on Airbnb type businesses for room tax collection and car rental tax collection. A lot of these are conceptual right now, not seeing language on these yet, but there are some working groups with legislators on digital goods, same with LAT, and then of course there's some mining resolutions that will be heard this session and move forward, but we'll keep you up to date as we hear the other ones relating to capital gains and so forth. Redistricting. Also, during this session, we are supposed to do redistricting, but with a delay of census numbers, it's potentially will be a special session after May 31st. It could happen in the summer, it could happen in the fall. It just depends when the census numbers arrive. As everyone knows, every 10 years, you have to update your numbers, redraw your lines for all the seats in Nevada from the state assembly, Senate, congressional, county commission, school board. So when we get to the November 22 elections, you will see different maps and new lines that have been drawn. And so the districts will change a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on that, of course, and provide updates as that information becomes available, hopefully in the next few months. Regarding some of the BDRs and committees already, I mentioned AB 47. It's labeled as Unfair Trade Practice Bill, sponsored by the Nevada Attorney General's Office, Attorney General Ford. And this bill has three pieces to it. Originally drafted, there was a merger acquisition piece, similar to what they do at the federal level, but goes into more detail with different dollar amounts to take into consideration. There's a non-compete, basically non-competes would not be able to be used further in most scenarios. And then there's a healthcare provision. In credit to the Attorney General's office, they've had several stakeholder meetings already, and they have indicated that the bill goes a little further than they wanted. So they are narrowing it down. It sounds like just a healthcare on the merger acquisition piece. They're indicating they're willing to expand the role of non-competes. So we'll keep you posted on that as we move forward. There's SB 75 unemployment compensation, changing how that works. There's going to be some taxation coming out of Senate revenue, so we'll keep you posted on those bills as well. Senator Canizero, who's the majority leader, will have some business labor bills also and business entity. As the language comes out, we'll work with her and address any concerns there may be for the business community. Assemblyman Dina Neal will be working on our digital goods bill again from last session, and her governing discriminatory practices is going to relate back to the state and state employment. Senator Orenthal just dropped a bill yesterday. It's now SB 95. It's a bar association bill to keep us competitive with Delaware. So that's something we will take closely to and potentially support. Senator Spearman, who chairs Commerce and Labor, will be having several bills on business entities and data collection. So we will, of course, be engaging with her as the language comes out, and we've been in communication with her, and we'll work closely with her to address any concerns from our members on these topics. And then finally, we'll have some bills from Assemblyman B. Duran on Nevada pay equity bill, Susan Martinez about wage pages to those on job and day training programs. Sarah Peters is working on employment diversity issue, so we'll be working with her on that. And then there's also several bills from local governments and the PUC. I indicate SB 18 will significantly increase the fines on the utility members. The Nevada League of Cities and NACO, which is the County Association, have two different property tax bills, SB 14 and SB 10. SB 64 is the NACO bill, I'm sorry, the League bill. That's a pretty extensive overhaul to Nevada's property tax structure. The NACO bill, SB 10, basically creates a floor of how low property tax can go. City of Reno has introduced SB 73 and SB 11. It basically would give them authority to enact 5 different types of taxes. That's something the chamber will voice its concerns about local governments having that type of fiscal authority. The chamber's position is Nevada is a Dillon rule state. The chamber has always been concerned or uneasy about local governments having fiscal taxing authority. California is a home rule state where local governments can tax and spend. Nevada's Dillon rule, which means the state specifically dictates to cities what they can and cannot do. So the chamber prefers Dillon's rule. It is an NRS. So we'll keep you posted on those bills because it may be City of Reno today, but it can be easily amended to include all cities like Las Vegas, Henderson, North Las Vegas. So that's why we do engage in some of these specific bills because it can be easily amended to include all cities. Let's say resources are also available, and I'm going to turn that over to Dylan Keith for a moment, and he's going to share with our members some of the resources available to them. Dylan?
Thanks, Paul. So there are quite a few resources that we are highly encouraging you to take advantage of. The first is each Friday of this session, we'll be publishing the rundown. We're going to be showing the bills that are priorities, what we've testified on, so you can see and get a little bit of a glimpse on what we're working on and what issues we're facing. The other is to become a chamber advocate. I'll go into that a little later, but it's one of the most important things that we can get from you as members so that we can best represent you and advocate for you. Next is to keep joining us on these Paul calls. Paul's going to keep going over all of the up-to-date legislation, and it'll keep getting more and more intense as we keep going, as we see some more legislation coming down the hopper. Next is to answer the calls to action, especially through the Chamber Advocate Program. We're going to be asking you to email your legislators, write letters, even do 30-second testimonials on your phone and just do a little selfie video so that we can put to Twitter, put on social media, and actually tag the legislators that might be on the fence in those committees to make sure that they're hearing your voices. And it's not just a tax on the business community, it's tax on actual people who are running these businesses and that it matters. Next, we're going to have legislative roundtables throughout the session. These will be monthly legislative roundtables discussions with the GA team on the third Thursdays at 8 a.m. And the last thing is to please contribute to BizPAC. It is how we fund all of our candidates. It's how we beat ballot measures. It's what really helps us get on the ground so that we can start to build a better foundation for the next legislative session.
Great, thank you, Dylan. And those resources are available at vegaschamber.com, or you can contact any member of our team about getting that information. So thank you, Dylan, for the great overview. Next, we're going to move to the Chamber Advocate Program, and Dylan is actually the staff liaison on that. So Dylan and Maribeth had talked a little bit this in her opening remarks. So Dylan, I'll turn it over to you to share the project with our members.
Thanks, Paul. So as Paul was laying out earlier, it's the first week of session, and we already have quite a few challenges. We're facing a remote session, and we're already facing quite a few bills that we see as might be very challenging. Becoming a chamber advocate lets us tell your story. And what we mean by that is that we want to hear how their decisions will affect your business directly. With each bill that we're asking for your help on, we'll give you talking points, we'll walk you through what it means, what the issues are, as well as how you can help, whether that's emailing your legislator, writing a letter to the legislator, doing that 30-second testimonial, or even testifying in a committee on a bill. We're here to help, but we need your help to do that. The best part is that your business is in a legislator's district, and we want to make sure that we can connect you to that legislator so that they know their decisions are being affected. So if you could, please join the Chamber Advocate Program. It can be found at vegaschamber.com under the Government Affairs tab and the Chamber Advocate button.
Great, thank you, Dylan. And we're very excited by the program. We've had about 160 members already register. And so if you go to vegaschamber.com, like Dylan said, you can register. This is one of our initiatives from our board chair this year, Gina Bon Jovi. She spoke about the program as part of her installation speech to our members in December. So the more members that like to engage, we're happy to get you trained, as Dylan said, and we'll be setting up a training session, I believe, next week, Dylan, for members on this. So please stand by and watch for emails on updates from Dylan on that. On the Sun Nevada Forum, I'll just share with you real quick. Dylan has done a great job for members articulating the different 5 committees. So those are from transportation, good governance, economic development, education, healthcare. Dylan is your point of contact for any logistical questions about the forum. As the bills come out, we will keep members updated on that. Watch for our social media feed, the rundown. The governor, we're very excited by this. The governor has endorsed one of the priorities and is working closely with stakeholders on good governance about the expansion of federal grants for Nevada. Nevada leaves about $500 million on the table every year from the federal government, which we could use to support additional social services, healthcare, mental health, education, grant assistance to businesses. So we're very excited that this is part of the governor's legislative priorities for the session. Dylan, that brings the end to the formal presentation. So let us see if there are any questions from our members today.
So again, if you'd like, please input any questions at the question pane at the bottom of your screen. Or if you'd like, you can click the hand raise button and we can get your question live.
All right, seeing there are none, let's encourage our members, of course, to watch for the rundown tomorrow, our social media feed, of course, and our website for updates. And I'd like to thank Dylan for recording today's call, CenturyLink for sponsoring, and Mary Beth for joining us today. If anybody has any questions, they can always contact me at pmoradkhan@vegaschamber.com or my cell at 702-810-9124. I'll turn it back for Mary Beth for any closing remarks from you, Mary Beth.
Well, thank you, Paul. I just want to thank you and the Government Affairs team and the Government Affairs Committee at the Vegas Chamber, and of course, all of our members. And now it is more important than ever that people get engaged, especially with our Chamber Advocates program, and especially since we can't be in the building. And so it's going to be more important now than ever. So just want to say thanks to you guys and thanks to everybody on the call today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mary Beth, for your support. And everybody have a great day. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Take care, everybody. And thank you to CenturyLink.